Hi everyone, my name is Rowan White. I'm in grade 11. Okay. I'm going to ask you to take a second to notice what you're aware of through your senses. What can you hear, taste, smell? What is interacting with your body? What can you see? All these things set up the parameters of your personal space. Every person in this room has a different response to this awareness because of individual experience. The way you're sitting is influencing the way your body presses into your chair. Where you are in this room is affecting your temperature. Whatever you last ate is affecting what you can taste. All these things have an influence on how you interpret this moment, and everyone's experience is different. This is what makes your personal space personal. Your tactile experience and the extension of it is personal. This year in grade 11, I've been exploring the idea of personal spaces. My definition of personal spaces is the physical environment I take up, interact with, and interpret. In other words, my body and my surroundings. These things influence me and define me. I have my own personal spaces that clearly reflect me as I surround myself with what makes me comfortable. While my personal spaces extend to nearby surroundings, it can also be limited to my body. To me, the intimacy of my body is different from the intimacy of my home or my belongings. However, I find that both are equally intimate. My body is the first layer of intimacy. Following and extending from it is my personal space and belongings. My project on personal spaces communicates the vulnerability of sharing personal space and explores the uncomfortable aspect of such vulnerability. I differentiate between personal space and personal spaces. Personal space is my body. In this category, I explore the extreme intimacy of sharing my body with another. My body is something that can be seen by everyone else, and my choice to share that space with someone is a choice to become vulnerable. In my pieces, I pay a lot of attention to the body without any boundaries. My intention is to create large pieces of nudity and closeness that force the viewer to interact with such authentic instances of intimacy simply by viewing it. Using photography and acrylic and oil on canvas, I experiment with topics of self-value, bodily interactions, pain, violation, expression, and struggle. On the other hand, personal spaces are the extension of my body. It can be shown through my room, my house, my belongings, my clothing, all the ways I can express and communicate. My personal spaces reflect me as I influence my surroundings. Allowing people to come into my room, know what my bathroom looks like, or know the floor plan of my living space is a very uncomfortable thing for me, so I made it happen. Sharing this extension of myself is another form of intimacy that I explore through my art. In my blueprint series, my intention was to duplicate my space with accurate measurements and present it. I wanted to show people my space in a way that is so literal it becomes abstracted. I strive for perfection using ink on canvas, measuring my space exactly and scaling it down to a viewable size, creating accurate representations. Not only was this my way of forcing vulnerability with strangers, but it was my way of taking something I could control and creating precision to satisfy the imperfections of the things that I can't control. I later chose to explore my love for simplification by taking pieces of structures and creating them through shapes and color. I paid attention to creating something that walks the line of recognizability and achieved this perfection and simplification while still sharing the space around me through my art. I've been exploring this idea of controlling the things that I can when things feel out of control since I started here at ESA. The first piece I ever created was on that topic exactly. This piece was a mixed media sculpture about my struggle to keep the figurative things in my life organized in the way that I can. I've been very focused on this idea of forcing vulnerability and trying to make myself and others just uncomfortable enough. I approach this in, we'll just go from here then. I approach this in a very literal way. My idea of forcing vulnerability is taking the most physical aspects of my life and giving it to others. I try to do this by turning aspects of my brain and internal thoughts into tangible things. The things I struggle with are easier to deal with when I can physically handle them. It gives me literal control. This comes out in ways of obsessive organizing, journaling, writing things down, and sorting my ideas through words. I constantly surround myself with organization due to this idea that if I can control the things around me, then I can satisfy my inability to control my thoughts. To me, the only thing that I can control is myself and my personal surroundings. Through this ongoing project of exploring and sharing my personal spaces, I force vulnerability and recreate it in order to have control over it. I paid attention to creating something that will, sorry guys. While trying to use this to satisfy and disguise my struggle to have a grasp on my own life, I've accidentally faced my problems and forced myself to understand them. By creating and dissecting the vulnerability that I strive for through my art, I've grown to understand my own vulnerability and accept the need for perfection using my personal spaces. Thank you.